All of that hardware, team.
Hello, and welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining from. Thank you for being here. Welcome to another week of whatever this is, talking about live streaming, ATEM Minis, YoloBoxes. You know the drill. Say hi in the chat if you are joining live. Otherwise, thanks for watching the replays. Looks like people are from all over again. It is getting cold here in Portland. This week has been very cold. I've got the little snowflakes coming down on the screen over here. Hasn't actually, no, it's not true. It did snow once, but it didn't stick. But as of this week, we are getting temperatures finally below freezing. So maybe there will be some snow. We will see. Anyway, welcome. If you have a question for me, there's a lot of chat going on all the time. So start your message with the letter Q and it'll filter it into a special thing on my screen so I can see the questions in the middle of all the chat going on. Speaking of, the first layer says, I'm going to use your chat plugin for the first time today in my live stream. I am very excited. I'm glad. I hope it works out. I had somebody mention there was a problem with it, and I got a couple of issues filed on GitHub about it. I think it's still working fine. I'm always nervous about that because it could break at any point given the way it works, because it's basically scraping the YouTube chat window, not actually using the API like it probably should. But if it does stop working, it's going to stop working for everybody, and then I'm going to have to scramble to fix it. So I'm always like really nervous about that. But hopefully it is working. It's been stable. But yeah. The oh, I see a question from earlier from Carl. The question: what are the pros and cons of ATEM Mini Pro hardware streaming versus USB-C webcam? I would say the main difference is that when you're using the ATEM Mini Pro hardware, it is the ATEM Mini itself doing the streaming, which means your computer isn't really involved in anything except controlling what cameras are active if you aren't using the physical buttons. So if you're using the software control, I prefer doing that because I like to not have the computer have the extra load. If you are bringing it in through USB-C, you have to run some other kind of software on the computer to stream. So that could be OBS or eCamm, or even just in the YouTube studio in the browser can use the webcam directly. I guess one of the big advantages of doing it that way is you get all the graphics capability of using things like OBS or eCamm. eCamm also has the guest feature, which is super cool. So that's the big advantage for using it as a webcam. But if you are mixing your whole show in the ATEM Mini, then I would stick with the ATEM Mini and stream directly from it and keep your computer out of it, basically. Good question. Oh no, Michael says, sad because 2 of my HDMI inputs on my ATEM died, but I'm hoping I can get them fixed soon. That's no good. I hope you do get them fixed. I don't know why they would die. Here's a question from David. The GH5 II can live stream in camera to an RTMP server. Yep, it's pretty cool. It's possible to stream that into the YoloBox as another input source wirelessly. Not exactly, no. Although now I'm wondering. So I know with one of the things the YoloBox can do is it can bring in another feed from a YoloBox. So you can add a video source that is another active live stream on your YoloBox account. What I'm wondering is whether YoloCast, their cloud platform, counts as that, and I'm not sure. That's what I would check, because the only way this would be possible is if you can get your camera streaming up to YoloCast, their cloud version of YoloBox. And if that's logged in as your same account as the YoloBox, then it might see it. That's the only way it would work. I'm not sure, but that's a good thing to test. It'd be kind of fun. Good question. Jonathan says, have you had a chance to configure audio with MADI? How did it go? Any issues? I have not actually properly set it up yet, but the cable is connected. And if I haven't done any of the actual configuration yet, though. But if you look at where did it, oh, I forgot that button doesn't actually switch it over. If you look at the audio thing in my ATEM, there are a bunch of the MADI channels. Where are they? Here they are. And there's a couple things coming through on them, but I don't really remember what they are because I haven't actually properly set up the channels that get routed. Yeah, so I don't know which 8 blocks those are. MADI 17, 18, I guess that's the same as, where's my, yeah, I have no idea which channels those are because I don't, oh, it's probably one of the devices in the, it's probably in the Constellation, I have a couple things that feed back in the program audio. So like if a HyperDeck is in record mode, or the web presenter program or status view feeds back in so I can route it to monitors and stuff. So that's what we're seeing. That's what the fader, the audio levels are, is that's the program audio as I'm talking, getting fed back in. So those are probably ATEM going out to the mixer and then coming back in from the mixer. So it's definitely a mess right now. I have not actually properly set it up. But hopefully I will get a chance to play with that soon. I need to go watch Ryan's video because it's definitely confusing. Oh, good questions coming in. Okay. What do you recommend to remotely control the ATEM Mini from a different outside location? I really need to do a video about this because there's a whole bunch of different options for you. And it really depends on a lot. There's a lot of different things that go into it. So if you're talking about controlling an ATEM Mini in the studio, in your studio, but you're going to be outside the studio, then that's probably the most straightforward, because you basically run a VPN server in your studio, and then your if you run a VPN server in your studio, you can connect to it from the outside, and that'll get you into your studio, and then you can treat it like you're on the local network. That's the most straightforward version. It gets a little bit more complicated if you're trying to do the other way around, where if your ATEM Mini is remote, then and you want to connect to it and you don't know where it is ahead of time, you can do it using VPN tricks again, but it's a little bit more complicated to set that up. So basically, you're going to look for some sort of VPN solution, and that way you would get your control computer onto the network that your ATEM is in through a VPN. Other than that, I am going to have to do a video that goes into more details on that, because which Ryan? Oh, what? Let me actually just grab his video, since I can just link to his video. Where did they go? Oh, maybe it was a live stream. It was a live stream he did. Here is the link in the chat. This is his channel, Ryan Summerfield. I've done a couple of things with him before on the channel. What is the system you use to remotely switch the ATEM Mini Pro? From Tov Sports. I use Companion, first of all. That is a little program that runs on a Raspberry Pi that's inside this rack. And the Companion is the thing sending all the messages to the ATEM. And it can control multiple ATEMs and other devices too. So it actually controls a bunch of the different things in the rack here. And Companion is then controlled from either a web page, so I can pull up the buttons on a web page. It looks like this, and I can that was from the show with Rocky. This is the main page I normally use, and I can tap the buttons to change the angles and do the little super source layouts and my sound effects and stuff. So I've got a bunch of actions here, and it also lets me do a bunch of other things, like this one I just made. It's really handy. It lets me quickly change what's on the monitors in front of me. So the teleprompter that I'm looking at is showing the web presenter status, which I like to use because it shows that I'm on air. It shows the bit rate and the audio levels, but I could make it show my Apple TV, for example, which is what I do when I am looking at a script. So I AirPlay iOS device up to the Apple TV so I can read a script off of it. But anyway, that's Companion. Then Companion can also be controlled from a Stream Deck, which is all these buttons. And the Stream Deck is a USB device plugged into the Raspberry Pi that's in there. I have it on a really long cable though, extension cable. And then because I have because I can also get to it in the browser, it means as long as I'm on the VPN, I can get to the Companion buttons virtually. So that's what I do when I'm remote, is I press the buttons on the browser or load it onto an iPad that's on the VPN or something. It works well. Oh gosh, all sorts of questions coming in. Okay. Oh, thank you, Sergio, for the super chat. I appreciate it. Okay, your question. What is safer and better for recording, ATEM Mini HDMI out on the YoloBox Pro in, or YoloBox Pro HDMI out on the ATEM Mini HDMI in? Good question. I think it mostly comes down to which, where are you adding like all the other parts of the show? Because you can use both devices in either direction, and there are reasons to do both. So if you have the ATEM Mini out going into the YoloBox, then basically the YoloBox only has one camera. So you'd be using all your YoloBox for all the graphics, and you can do the web overlay that way, which is pretty cool. And if you're doing that, I would record in the YoloBox, because that's going to record your graphics and the actual program. And Benefit of that is you can use more cameras because the YoloBox Pro has 3 HDMI in, but the ATEM Mini has 4. And the ATEM Mini has other features that the YoloBox doesn't have, but obviously none of the graphics features. So that option is fine if you want to be switching on the ATEM, which also is nice because you can use Companion to automate that, speaking of Companion. If you have it the other way around, where you're doing YoloBox Pro HDMI out into the ATEM, I guess I'm kind of struggling with why you would be using it that direction. Because that really means that you would have the option of having multiple cameras in the ATEM, in which case the YoloBox may not always be on air. Could make sense depending on what you're doing. But one of the big reasons to do it that way is even if you are mixing your whole show in the YoloBox, is the recording quality of the ATEM Mini. So I do think the ATEM Mini recording quality is better than the YoloBox recording quality. It is, I haven't done like an actual side-by-side comparison now that I'm thinking about it, but it just feels more stable to me. So I would probably record it in the ATEM Mini that way. But yeah, I'm seeing some comments about the HDMI out though. Would you please ask the YoloBox tech team if and when the replicated frames that cause jerky HDMI output will be resolved along with a lack of 50 frames per second out? That's a good point too. Depending on what frame rate you're trying to record in, the ATEM will do a better job of sticking to that frame rate. So yeah. Oh, MT says, don't forget MixEffect to control the ATEM. Speaking of, I've got it running on this iPad in front of me right here. And that is, I can switch to it really quick to show you. It is actually live switching this show right now. I decided to experiment with the new feature in the new update. So this is MixEffect, and let me zoom this in a little bit. Oops, there we go. I've got it on the audio tab because I'm using the new feature in Video Follows Audio. So Video Follows Audio is a super cool feature in MixEffect where it will actually tell the ATEM to switch camera angles as different audio levels change. So really good, for example, for podcasts where you might have a 3-camera setup and you have, a close-up on each guest and then a wide shot. And as each person starts talking, it will auto cut to them, and then if either both people are talking or if they stop talking, you can cut back to the wide shot all automatically. And I've done this a couple times with some people, remote guests, because it also works great for the remote guest example. And then I tried to use it for this show a while ago, and I was like, oh, there's a problem with if I'm also trying to be able to control the show, because it kind of takes over. So what Adam did is he added a feature where basically you can have it optionally turn off the feature, or let me rephrase that. You can have it so that it will only auto cut if certain cameras are on air. So for example, when I switch to the overhead, it's not doing any auto cutting anymore, because I've pushed that button because I want to show you the overhead camera. Same with if I show like the close-up of the desk over here so you can see the in-stream, or if I want to show different camera angles, I don't want it to be auto-cutting anymore. But as soon as I go back to my main camera, then I do want it to take over. And what I have it doing right now is cutting between this shot and the wide shot. So if I stop talking for a second, you should see it switch. There it goes. And then it'll eventually cut back to me as I'm talking. It has a couple of delays built in, so I'll show you how those work. There's two settings to make that happen. So on the main audio here, I have it turned on, and then I have it when the audio drops below 58, which is really low, for 135 samples, which I don't know how many seconds that is, but it seems to work pretty well there. then cut to the wide camera. And it actually will do it with a dissolve. And then here's the delays. So once it cuts, it's going to not do anything else for 3 seconds. And that way it doesn't like flip back and forth really fast. So that's how it goes to the wide shot. And then for the close-up shot, I just picked another audio source that had audio in it. Enable video follows audio. When the audio levels are greater than 37 for a shorter time, then cut to the main camera and hold it for 6 seconds. So if it ever cuts to the main camera, it'll stay there for at least 6 seconds. But here's the new feature. Disable for inputs on program, which maybe that logic should be reversed because it's kind of confusing. But if you check a box, it won't do it for that camera. So I've checked everything except the main camera and the wide camera. So Auto Director will only take over if either the 2 shots that it's sort of managing are on air. And if anything else is on air, I'm running the show. So I've done that for both of the triggers. So these are turned off for all cameras except the 2 cameras that it's running. So this whole time, the shot's been locked on the overhead because I'm talking, I've taken over. And now if I switch back, it'll take back over and it'll run the show. And that's how I'm doing the auto cuts when I'm not controlling. Because I figured if I stop talking, then you don't need to see a close-up of my face because it means I'm probably reading something on the screen here. Oh, thanks, Eric. Video follows audio automation seems pretty smooth today. Very natural. Using it on 2 cams is a good choice. I kind of actually wish that wide shot was even wider, but I'm running out of room in the room for cameras. So that was a fun update. Okay, other questions here. How do you correct the color of the laptop in the ATEM Mini? I have an Apple MacBook Air M1. I have noticed that sometimes in certain display profiles, the colors that show up in the ATEM when you plug your computer into the ATEM, I assume that's what direction you mean, looks off. So wait, correct the color of the laptop. Yeah. So if you're trying to get your laptop screen into the ATEM Mini and you're seeing colors that are a little bit off, what I would do is go to your display settings in the computer and try different color profiles. Some of these, it'll look really wrong. So let's see, I'm using Blackmagic. So if I switch to like Apple RGB, that looks okay. But let me find one that's like really gonna make it look different. How about, yeah, now it's like totally wrong, right? So you can see that what you're seeing on YouTube is super wrong colors. And it's wrong on my screen too, but I'll go back to Blackmagic, which, and you can also like create one if you want to tweak it a little bit more. Oh, also make sure night shift is not on because that's another one that gets people is if you're doing a stream in like when it's not light out, then night shift might change your colors. So let me show you what that looks like. Turn on, and if I do that, oh, it's not, oh, weird. It's not doing it. It's not changing it for me. I don't know why. Maybe it's because this is an M1 Mac Mini, not a laptop. I don't know. It says night shift does not apply to connected televisions or projectors. So maybe it thinks that it's a television that's connected. Anyway, on a laptop, it looks totally wrong. It'll be all yellow. And that also goes for like, if you're ever doing a presentation in a conference, turn off night shift because it may, even if it looks okay in the projector in the room, if they're recording it, it's going to look terrible in the recording. I've had seen so many times that happen, and it's really unfortunate. something happened with my Mac and my little icons in the top are the wrong color now. That's weird. Like the OBS icon is just the wrong color. How bad is the delay for remote guest on YoloBox Pro? I think I demonstrated it at some point. It's not bad. It's like what you'd expect for any remote guest feature. It was completely reasonable. I don't remember it being particularly wildly different one way or the other. Like it wasn't particularly low latency and it wasn't an annoying amount of latency. So I think it does also depend on the network, because when you are, like I've been testing it myself by like sending myself a link that I joined from my phone in the studio, and then it's lower latency. But yeah, the totally fine amount of latency in my opinion. Raul says, I found a better solution for the laptop colors. Instead of using color profiles, I connect the laptop to the YoloBox and the YoloBox to the ATEM, and the YoloBox corrects it. Interesting. It's probably because the computer sees a different kind of device in the YoloBox, so it sets its color profile differently for that one compared to the ATEM. Weird. Super weird. Nils says, good evening. David Joshua Ford's preview of Companion 3 showed a lot of interesting new features, better web view among them. Ooh, very cool. I haven't actually tried that yet. I'm still running, I am running a beta, but I'm running now 2.4.0, and it looks like actually 2.4.1 is available, and I should go and update. Because they have been adding a lot of cool stuff. I'll have to go watch his live stream. I did not get a chance to watch that yet, though. Good question from Mauricio. What's the best way to add NDI sources to the ATEM? Ooh, there are a couple ways. I was really hoping that the BirdDog Play would be the clear, by far winner. So far, it is. It's the cheapest one because it's like was like 129 or something. Let me find that. I bought one to try it out. Haven't done a lot of thorough testing yet, but that's weird. Why do I not have a link to it? Oh my gosh. There it is, 149. Which is the cheapest thing you can get for that, I think. Although actually now the Apple TV might be cheaper. Anyway, the BirdDog Play is one. It's just a little box. It receives the NDI on the network and then outputs over HDMI. So that's a totally reasonable way to do it. It does not necessarily play nice with every NDI feed. I tried giving it the one from my camera app on the phone. That's the main reason I would ever use NDI, is when I'm using my phone as a camera around the studio. It did not work with that at all. It was a horrible mess. So it does work with other kinds of NDI feeds. So sadly, it's not a clear winner, but that's one option. Here is the BirdDog Play. I really need a way to speed this process up. It looks like this little box. So on the back, it's just got HDMI and Ethernet and USB-C for power. And then the other way that I've had actually quite a lot of luck with is an Apple TV. So you have to buy the Apple TV and an app, and the app is like $100 for the app. But the Apple TV is, the 4K one is, looks like that's the new one. Yeah, it's only $140. So it's cheaper than the BirdDog Play. The Apple TV is a good option, and it lets you do more things than obviously just NDI, because it can run Apple TV apps. I can show you what it looks like. So this is the Apple TV that's here. Somewhere in here is the NDI app. Yeah, NDI monitor. And you launch the app, and then if you tap, if there is an NDI source on the network, it'll show up. So if I go open NDI camera on my phone, is it gonna auto find it, or do I might have to go back out and go back in? There it is. Now you get to see the giant mess that the studio is. So then if you select, oh, come on, there it goes. And now it's the feed from my camera. I don't know why it's not 16:9. That's interesting. And now I've got a phone as a camera and my giant mess of a studio. I've been working on a new, got all my colorful OAuth shirts over there because I'm working on a new video course that I've been filming, and that's why that is turned that way and set up over there for that gray wall. And this is what I am staring at. Anyway, I think the Apple TV is a great option. I don't remember why it's not 16:9. Thought that was not how it worked. So I don't know what changed. And then another option, which is a lot more expensive, would be the Magewell Pro Convert. And this is the thing I've talked about a ton. And I use it for all sorts of things. It is Magewell Pro Convert. Here's an HDMI version. And this thing is a little box. They're all little boxes. Oops. Little box looks like that. HDMI, NDI over there. It is PoE, which is nice, so you can power it off of your network switch, which is very nice. I like this thing a lot. It has a web interface that you pull up to configure it. So, what is the IP address? There it is. And a little web interface, and then sources. Now you know my stream key. If you are here, you could stream to my Pro Convert. The NDI sources on the network will appear in this list, and then you can just choose one and it'll output it. So same kind of idea. This is like a $500 device, so it's not cheap, unfortunately. But it can also receive RTMP, which is super cool, and other things. You can actually add RTSP if you have cameras that, like PTZ cameras that have an RTSP server in them. You can do RTMP pull or push. You can do SRT. So it does all sorts of stuff, and it's very cool. I like this whole thing. I actually used it last week when I had Rocky here. Oh no, I didn't use that for Rocky because I was using Video Ninja. Normally I use it for remote guests if they're streaming over RTMP to me, but I did not do that yesterday. What NDI camera app was that? It was NDI HX camera. Yeah, I think that's what it's called. The NDI HX camera. Yeah, that is exactly what it's called. Eric says, I see less cables on the floor. True. Yes. Things are making progress in here. And I'm also trying to keep this set entirely over on this side of the room and then free up that side. Making progress. Also, I have all sorts of new shelves out there, which they're not done yet, and most of them are still empty, but I have shelves and containers. I spent so much money on containers, just boxes to put things in. But I'm going to get things organized, and I'm going to eventually get the big mess in the corner out of the corner onto those shelves. So, yeah. Yep. Jonathan says, do you still need another $100 app if you get the BirdDog, or how to interface with the phone? I totally forgot how much the phone app costs. I don't remember now if it is free or not. The BirdDog is like that. You buy that and that's all you need for the receiving end. NDI HX camera on the phone. I can't tell if it costs money because I've already bought it. Sorry. But the BirdDog, yeah, the BirdDog is all you need to receive the NDI. You don't need to buy anything else. Apple TV requires the Apple TV app to receive it, the NDI. But if you're trying to get a phone as a camera, I would probably not do it over NDI. But here I can show you why. wood turning tool store says, can you show your iPhone NDI camera through the Pro Convert? Yes, I can. And let's see if it does it in 16:9 or not. So I'll just put my phone here, ready to go so that it's broadcasting. So this is one of the examples of, oh, NewTek NDI camera is like $20 or used to be. Okay, cool. I must have bought it so long ago. One of the weird things about NDI is that the discovery, the way that it works. So it's all auto discovery on the network, right? So when I go into the Magewell, if I go into the dashboard and go into source, it's only going to show up here in this list if the app is actually open on my phone. So I have to open the app, have it running so that it's like broadcasting, advertising NDI on the network, and then it shows up here. So that's different from like RTMP, which is just all pre-configured, and you have to hard code everything, so it's a little bit more, maybe more awkward, but I like that version better. Anyway, so if I go and choose this in the Magewell, now its output is the NDI feed. So do I have, oh, I can change my super source. Oh yeah, and I see it over here on the multi-view. I'll show you that in a second as soon as I get it on the screen. Super source, what is that box? Oh, that, darn. Wait, Constellation super source? Box 1, there it is. Okay. And I don't have a button for it. So I have to go make a button. Where's my companion? I have this page, little diversion into my companion config. ATEM Constellation super source goes to page 33. This is box 1. You can see it's on my computer. I don't have a button here to change it to add the Pro Convert, so I want to make one. So I'm going to go here, copy that. What is Pro Convert connected on? I don't remember the number. 1, 2, 3. Where's the Pro Convert? Way down there. 28, it looks like. So I should be able to go and give it 28. Magewell, great. Give it 28 over here, and give it 28 over here. And now I have a button to change the super source to the Magewell. There we go. It looks like my phone is not, in fact, broadcasting 16:9 because both devices are showing you a feed in the wrong aspect ratio. But this is the feed coming from the Magewell now. And if you look at my multi-view, you'll see there's actually the Pro Convert is there and the Apple TV feed is there. And it's showing up in both, of course, because that's how NDI works. Both devices can be receiving the feed over the network, which is kind of neat. Yeah, so those two shelves, I'm going to try to get rid of those completely by taking all that stuff and moving it into the closet, which is around that corner, which, hey, we can go take a look at that. Let's go back to my, oh, I don't actually have a button for the full screen on the Magewell either. So let's go make one of those. Should be able to just copy that here and then change that to 28. And, oops, change that to 28. And change that to 28. And then now I can, oh, maybe my phone's in 4K, oops, 4K video mode. That could be. What settings do I have? I don't really have a lot of settings in this app. I can change the, now I broke it. I can change the bit rate, the quality that it sends. Let's see. Or maybe not. Maybe the Magewell doesn't like the highest quality. Let's go back to medium. There, medium works. And here's the lowest. Oh, interesting. So if I go back to medium, now it is the right aspect ratio. I wonder why the low quality is not. That's fascinating. Well, Glad I tried that. There's just a little toggle in the app for changing that. Anyway, let's do a little walk around the studio, and I'm going to switch over my audio to the phone also, so that way I don't get really quiet. So first, here's the video full screen on the Magewell, and then I do have an audio tab, and we're going to get rid of the table microphone and switch to 28 is not on the screen. Darn. Running out of buttons. And there's too many buttons for a page here. But I'll add one for 28 here. Magewell audio, camera 28, toggle, camera 28. Now I've got more buttons. Okay, table microphone. I don't know why that button's not working. Is it actually on? Oh, it's split. I don't think I want it split. We're gonna go unsplit. Oh, I split it because it's only getting audio in the left channel. Look at that. Oh, that's weird. And that way I can turn on. So why is the companion not? Aha, source mono. Source mono. Troubleshooting live. And now, there we go. And I'm seeing audio. It looks quieter. Let me know how it sounds. I'm going to turn it up a little bit because it definitely looks a little bit lower than normal. Okay, give it 3. Now I can take you around and show you around the space. So that's a mess because I'm recording. There's my little shirts over there, and I've got this set up for this shot. So if I come around, try not to trip on any wires, I'm filming against this gray wall, and I don't have the light on, so it's not a very nice picture. But this is basically the shot for the course, kind of a plain shot. Obviously, I have a light over here that is normally on. And then I have the pile of shirts there because I change shirts for every segment. I wear a different color shirt. And then I will show you what it looks like over here. It's been a while since we've taken a little tour in here. There's my little trailer that I take everything on. I just brought this box in from home, full of electronics. And there is my new shelves. Look how pretty and organized everything is. All the colorful little boxes. They're soon gonna be full of stuff. And all these little drawers. I've got my little screws in here. Oh, that one's mostly empty. Here's my little flat tools. I think this one's gonna be for cables. And yeah, place for all the extra air pots down there. More tools. And I got to fill these up next. So that's going to be this project for this afternoon. I got all these little containers too for like putting miscellaneous things. These are all the door handles from the old house. I'm saving them because they're kind of cute. Maybe I can use them for something. And yeah, pegboard, charging station, GoPro for the bike. I've got the drone batteries charging, so I'm going to go fly over the house today. And hot glue gun, screwdrivers. Yeah, got my little cases for the small rig lights up there, and the top row has stuff that I really don't access very often, so it's all the way up on top. But that is much better. It used to be, couldn't even really walk in here before, so that's nice. And now we go back to, you can see the color temperature change. So I've got all these, oh yeah. I'm gonna eventually clean it up once I'm done moving cables. I do need to find a home for these cables too. These are all the like 6-foot HDMIs that I sorted out. Okay, hopefully that worked because I wasn't watching the comments as I was doing that. And back. Storage, says Eric. Yeah. Oh, it is quieter but loud enough to be intelligible. Good. Okay. Do you match the color of the background light to the shirt color? No, I just leave the background gray, actually. It actually doesn't even look gray. It looks mostly black when I have it, because I have it exposed to be just basically a void behind me. And then I put text on the side because I'm like a little bit off center. Christopher says, give it a few months and it will look like something exploded in there. It's true. Bullhorn says, why can I never make it look this neat? You are a wizard, sir. So, okay, first of all, it's not done yet. And it's probably not going to look as neat when it's done. But secondly, buying matching storage containers is the secret. That's the secret. Because if you look at my previous attempt at storage, which is over here, can I zoom in on this? I can. Turns out putting miscellaneous cardboard boxes in shelves that don't match, it does not make it look good. So the trick is buying matching storage boxes. Yeah. Is your network rack back there? Oh yeah, I didn't show you that. I can show you the network rack, I think. Is there any reason I can't? No, that's fine. Let's do it again. Oops, I forgot that phone was on the table. The network rack is actually in a little room behind here. So let me get my trailer out of the way. It's in this little room. And I do have a light in there. And you can probably hear it now, but this is the network rack way up on the wall. I've got all sorts of fun stuff in there, and I've actually got batteries too. So I've got this one, which I hate. I do not recommend that one. And I got the Cyber Power over there, which I do like, strapped to the wall, so hopefully it won't fall over randomly. And Unify NVR, the Cloud Key, that's the actual router, and this is the switches in here, which is almost full. 2 PoE injectors, which feed the routers, the little switches that are also PoE pass-through for the cameras. And then I got some other fun stuff in here. I've got this is feeding a neighborhood Wi-Fi access point. Home automation server up there. The RTL SDR is receiving the 433 megahertz signals, and from like the thermometers and stuff, got a little LTE modem up there. What else? Oh, you can't see it, but way up there is my Synology NAS backup NAS, and yeah, that's the storage rack. Storage rack, server rack, that's the word. And get rid of that audio and go back here. What's up with the wig? Oh, that is because I did that event for Small Rig. They sent me a bunch of these lights, and I was showing them off on the B&H event space. Did a little demo of that, and for that I was sitting here, but I needed to be able to have another subject that I was experimenting with the lighting on. So that was my subject for the for that event. Oh, all sorts of questions coming in. Graham says, do you have an inventory database to keep track of what is in each box? I don't yet. I probably should, because right now my method is I write something on the outside of the box that marks it, but all the pretty boxes don't have labels yet, so we'll see. Okay, let me see if there's any other questions about storage, and then we're going to move on. Or the Pro Convert. What Pro Convert model are you using? This is the, I actually have the Pro Convert NDI to SDI because I'm running it into the Constellation, but it's basically the same as the Pro Convert NDI to HDMI, which is the one I usually tell people to get, because if you're using it with an ATEM Mini, obviously you should get the HDMI version. But they're both basically the same. They actually discontinued the non-NDI version because they had one that was everything exactly the same minus the NDI, so it was a little bit cheaper because they didn't have to buy the license for it. And for some reason they discontinued it, so you can only get the NDI one now. Oh, do a close-up of the equipment rack behind you with the mobile NDI? Yeah. So this is, talking away from the microphone though. We can do a quick tour of this rack. So up on top, starting with the top, I've got the ATEM SDI, ATEM Mini SDI 4-input, and the video assist above it on top of course, sitting on the PK1 stand. That is what I use for ISO recording, and it just has 4 outputs from the Constellation that go into there, so I can change what goes into the ATEM SDI. This Ultimat, I have not played around with much yet, other than just turning it on and configuring it. This is on loan from Blackmagic. I'm going to hopefully do some experiments and tutorials on that soon. So that is just the dedicated green screen hardware. And I've just barely had a chance to turn it on. It came last week. I've got the 2-screen Blackmagic display, not super high resolution. It's not actually full HD, so it's really just for quick reference. But I have I have 2 multi-views on that from coming out of the Constellation, Multi-View 1 and Multi-View 2. Video Hub is turned off right now. I'm going to try to keep it off. Hopefully I don't need it. Constellation 4ME, which finally came. 40 inputs, 24 outputs, and I have not yet filled it up, which is great. The next one down has Web Presenter on the left, which is streaming this show. I've got a HyperDeck in the middle, which I was using to record the course, because I always like to have 2 recordings when I'm doing these just for backup. So I was recording one on the ATEM, one into the HyperDeck. On the right is the oldest HyperDeck, which is what has the show graphics. But I might try moving some of those into the Constellation now with the animation that it supports. Below that is the HyperDeck half rack HyperDeck HD Mini. That's what it's called. Which I have it right now playing a clip, but I sometimes use it for playback and recording depending on what I'm doing with it. On the right is the Ultra Studio 4K Mini, which is running this show. That's how the chat is showing up. So that's plugged into the Mac Mini, which gives me the 2 SDI outputs for the key and fill graphics. So if I show a message on the screen, you'll see it pop up in there. And I am borrowing the Ultimat. It's on loan from Blackmagic, so we'll see. I'll have it for a few months. Mostly unused patch panel. The mostly unused patch panel currently has an HDMI port on the right, which is running out to this table. I'm not totally sure if it's going to stick around, but I needed something quickly. Oh my God, I can't get the camera straight. So that's there. I've got a little fuzzy thing just for a blank. And then down here, we've got Epiphan Pearl Nano, which I've done some videos on before. But it's turned off because it's actually the loudest thing in the rack right now. It's not even that loud. It's just the loudest thing in the rack. But I have it on a remote switch where I can boot it up if I want to use it. And it is routed into the Constellation also, to and from. So I can feed stuff into it from the Constellation or feed its output into Constellation. BirdDog Play is not plugged in, but that's probably where it's going to live. That's in the middle there. And then on the right is a dock. So it's a Thunderbolt dock running into the Mac Mini, and that gives me SD card slot and USB ports on the front of the whole rack here. The Mac Mini itself, you probably can't see it, but it's in the back somewhere back there. And then keep going down, we've got just a power switch. It just has like 8 outlets on the back, so a bunch of stuff's plugged into that. And I have one in the front in case I need to plug something in. I've got the X32 rack, which is running all the audio, which I have definitely not fully utilized, but that's got the MADI support going into the Constellation. So that's going to be a whole experience once I actually get that running. Below that is the network controlled outlets. There's like, I think it's 8 outlets on the back, which can be network controlled. So I can turn them on and off over the network, which means I can actually make a button on the Stream Deck to reboot devices, which I have to do with the Web Presenter basically every time I come in here, is reboot it, because it eventually gets confused once it's been on for too long. On the very bottom is the UPS. This one's okay. It is CyberPower rack mount UPS, and it is silent unless it's using the battery, and then it kicks in, the fans kick in high gear, and it's very, very loud. So if you turn it on, like when you first turn it on, it'll go into that loud mode for like 5 minutes. So everything comes off of that, so that I can, if I want to turn the entire rack off, turn off the button on the UPS, and then the whole thing shuts down. And that is the tour of the rack. Yes, and now my hand is extremely sore from holding the camera like that. Okay. Elmore says, any thoughts, concerns, strategy on power consumption of all the equipment, or is electric power that cheap in the US so you don't care? I mostly don't care. The power bill here right now is, I think it's like $70 a month. But most of that is honestly the heater and the air conditioner. So the rack itself, it doesn't take that much. I should probably measure it at some point. Now that it's all now it's actually all up and running, and measure the watts on it. I don't think I have it plugged into. No, I don't have it plugged into a computer. I have one of the closet plugged into a computer to monitor network remotely. Christopher says all rack UPSs, regardless of vendor, will kick in turbofans when on battery. That makes sense, yeah. The UPS probably has a load meter in it. You're right. There's a little screen on this one. It's just off. Yeah, I'll check that later, because everything is plugged into that, and that'll tell me how much it's using. Graham says, is it time for another live test of the UPS yet? Not quite, because I actually need one more UPS over on this side. So all of my screens here will turn off if the power goes out. The stream should stay up because everything that's in the rack is on the battery, everything in the closet is on a battery, and my network connection, it doesn't require power here. So everything should stay up if the power goes out. But yeah, once I get a battery over here, I'm almost done with the cable mess over here. So I'm going to actually do proper routing and tie the cables up, try to get them off the floor, put everything on a battery, and then all my screens will stay up. And then we'll try it. Okay, let me look for other questions about the gear here before we move on. What is the monitor you're using in the teleprompter? This one, I've been pretty happy with it. It is, I always forget the number. this one. It's a Lilliput 10-inch, but it's called A11. That's why it's confusing. It looks like this. So it is HDMI and SDI, which is nice because I've been able to repurpose it depending on, I've used it for several different things throughout here over the years, and now it is running SDI. So one SDI cable going out of that directly in. And before I had it on HDMI coming from the ATEM Mini Extreme. As I've upgraded to SDI, I didn't have to change the monitor, which is nice. Speaking of, how are you liking the 4ME Constellation? And how much of a difference does it make? How do you dim the front light panel light levels? Oh, I haven't actually looked if that's possible. Because ATEM Mini has it in the settings, but I don't, or wait, it's in the ATEM Setup app. Let's see if it has it on this. I haven't looked yet. Nope, no settings here. So I don't think you can change the brightness of the buttons, but that's fine. I don't think you need to. And, but yeah, as far as how have I been liking it, a lot. I filled up the outputs of the Constellation 2ME that I was borrowing from DVE store pretty quick because of how many things that I have it going out to. And I have currently not yet filled up the inputs or outputs of this. We'll see if I can keep it that way. But I've got 4 outputs going into the SDI recorder up here. Teleprompter monitor, this monitor, that monitor. So that's already 7. What else is it going to? Web presenter, HyperDex. There's a long list. Actually, I think I have it pretty well labeled. If you look at the outputs up here. So I've got, I've only got 7 left that are not used. So I've got the 4 ATEM Mini ISO, the teleprompter, the 3 monitors, 4 monitors. Why are there 4 monitors? Teleprompter, tripod monitor, side monitor, rolling monitor. What's the tripod monitor? That's suspicious. Is that not actually used? I have no idea what this is. Tripod monitor. Teleprompter. What's the difference? I only see 3 screens. Okay, we're just gonna move on. Oh, 2 of these are temporary because these are going into the Ultimate, the background and the camera layers. So get into that later. One goes into the HyperDeck Mini. I have one going into my little encoder that I use for usually looking at the multi-view over RTSP. One goes into the Pro Nano, Smart View left and Smart View right. Those 2 screens and the web presenter. So these 2 are not necessary, but they do have pass-through, so I can always send them out to something else if I run out of an output. But yeah, it's been great. It's just a lot more room to spread out in this thing. Look for a tripod with a monitor on it. Yeah, I know, right? I actually don't have any actual tripods. That's the other confusing part, is that everything is on a light stand. So that's a light stand holding up the teleprompter, which there's no other teleprompter. So that is the teleprompter. Yeah. Is switching the screens around as easy as it was with the SDI Matrix? It's actually better. It's actually better. Let me show you how it is better. My little handheld camera is coming in handy today. Here is the side monitor, right? So if I go to the Stream Deck and go to monitors, I've got see here, there's only 3 here. I think I had something on a tripod that is not on a tripod anymore. But anyway, these are the 3 main screens. I've got the teleprompter, which is that one. I've got the side monitor, and then I've got the rolling monitor over here. So these are the ones that these are like my presets. So if I tap one of these, it'll change the output. So I've got the 4 multi-views, ME1 if I want to show the program, and I've also got the Apple TV, which is currently showing my phone over NDI. But let me change that so that you can tell the difference. Okay, so I will show you that monitor, and if I switch this over to input 2, it switches, and I go over to the Apple TV, and I go over to ME1, you get a tunnel effect. The reason I say it's better than the SDI Matrix is because it's doing effectively clean switch, clean feed. So because all the inputs are resampled and normalized to the same frame rate, the feed that the monitor gets is always the same. It's always the same feed. So with the SDI Matrix, it's more like actually unplugging a cable. It's just doing it electronically. But that means if you have 2 different frame rates going into the SDI Matrix and you switch, the monitor has to adjust. And HDMI monitors take a long time to negotiate that frame rate. So often what would happen is I would press the button and then it would be like, oh, signal's gone, wait 5 seconds for it to resync with the new frame rate. So now it's instant, no matter what I'm sending to it, because the Constellation has done all of the work of reformatting all the frame rates. So yeah, that is great. What light is behind the softbox? The image looks pretty good. This one is, I always forget. I think I have it linked in the description because it's part of my normal set. It's not in the description today. I'm going to have quite a bit of homework to link this all up after the show today. That one, let's go take a look because I don't actually remember. Aha. SL150. And this one is one of the small rig ones. SL150 Mark II. That one I like a lot because it is extremely quiet. I got it actually quite a long time ago. Let me see if I can find the link, just so I can put it in the description later. SL150 Mark II. And yeah, it is extremely quiet. So it's on not at all full brightness, full power. I want to say it's like 30% if I remember correctly. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it is not full power. And when it's not in full power, it doesn't kick in the fan really at all. If you go full power, it does turn on the fan. The fan is decently quiet still, but it's silent right now. It does not make a sound. It's great. The small rig ones, the fans do kick on more, I was noticing. And it's not that loud, but it is louder than, it's about the same as the gear in here when it turns on. So it's pretty quiet, but this thing is just dead silent, which is fantastic. Each output is like a program feed. We're talking about the SDI outs. Each output on the Constellation, this is actually true with the Constellation, all the Constellation models, as well as the ATEM Minis, all the ATEM Minis. All of the outputs, you can choose what goes out the output with Companion, of course, but also with the software control. So I just happen to have 24 outputs here, but if I go over to the ATEM SDI, there's 2 outputs, which is actually cool in the SDI version. ATEM Mini Extreme has 2 HDMI outs. ATEM Mini has 1 HDMI out, but in all cases, you can choose what goes out there. And if you do that, it'll instantly switch, and it's a clean switch. So it's not like unplugging the cable. So the monitor doesn't see the signal break. And with the ATEM Minis, you can choose any of your inputs or the multi-view or program or preview. So I just have obviously the 4 SDI inputs here. If I wanted to use one of them as a multi-view, I think I have this one set to multi-view, yeah. With the Constellation, it's different. the Constellation can actually show any of your inputs, which go down to here, here, and then a whole bunch of other stuff also. So weirdly, they cannot show you multi-view. So I've actually got the multi-view physical SDI port routed back in to one of the inputs, which is why there's these 4. So that ate up 4 of my inputs. But then you can see all these other internal sources. So if you want to take a look at, if you want to be like, oh, what is my key 1 mask on my ME1 right now? Like you want to look at that to preview it, you can actually see it out one of your outputs. Any of your downstream key masks, any of the clean feeds, either of the 2 super sources, and any of your MEs. So you can actually see a lot more stuff out of any of the SDI outputs of the Constellations than the Minis. But there is no like dedicated program out. You just get these SDI outs, and then the web presenter is effectively my program, and it is on ME1, and that's where I'm mixing the show mostly. Carl says, give Aaron an early gift and hit the like button. Thank you for the reminder. 100 of you need to click on the like button now. Thanks, David. Thank you for clicking. And thanks for being here. Okay, let me get to some of the other questions that I was skipping over. Again, it's getting to the point where I'm not gonna be able to scroll back through the chat. So if you do wanna get a question, make sure you put the letter Q in front. Am I using H2R graphics? The only thing I'm using H2R graphics for right now is this little thing that pops up in the bottom. I don't have anything else running in H2R right now. The chat is coming through a totally separate thing. But both H2R and the chat are actually in OBS. So my OBS screen looks like this, and I've got only 2 of these sources turned on right now. My AirPK.TV overlay and H2R graphics. At some point, I will try to do more stuff with H2R graphics. David says, where do I go to set my ATEM Extreme ISO for ISO recordings? I thought that I knew it, but I can't seem to find it. Oh yeah, I can show you where that is. It is a little bit confusing how they have these things laid out. Let's delete the old stream key. Actually, that doesn't even matter. So in your output tab, live stream is where you choose where to stream and the stream key and the quality. The confusing thing is that the quality here also affects the recording quality. There is only one encoder in it. So if you want to record at HyperDeck High, you have to go into your live stream section and choose HyperDeck High. In the record stream tab, that's where you choose ISO. So it'll say stop or ISO stop. And that's how you choose to toggle ISO recording. But again, so in the ISO recording, all of the ISO files are always at the top, the highest bit rate, which is basically HyperDeck High. But the program feed will be based on whatever you've set here. Good question. Any changes to Lily's setup today? I haven't got any messages from her, so far looks like everything's fine. I did do a little pre-test before I left to make sure the microphone was on and stuff. Oh yeah, her stream today should be a fun one if you are curious. I'll drop the link in the chat, and I should also make sure that we have the redirect set up to send everyone over there at the end. There we go. She is doing a stream about the crypto crash. So if you want to hear someone who actually knows what they're talking about, talk about crypto crash, it'll be fun. So that link is in the chat now. Okay. Oh, Sergio says about your main camera, what are the parameters, ISO, aperture, and shutter speed? Good question. I can show you actually, because these cameras are on the network. Which one is my main camera? I haven't figured out how to give these labels. So I'm just have to memorize these little hex codes. You'll see what I mean in a second. This is the the network control of the cameras. So I've got all the BGH1 cameras here in this app, and this is the preview that shows me the focus peaking and stuff. But I can change all the settings here. So f1.7, shutter speed is 50 because otherwise those lights blink. Here, I'll show you what it looks like at 60. Now you can see the lights on the ATEM Mini are flickering, which is annoying. So we'll go back to 50. And then ISO is 250. I try to keep it as low as I can, just so that there's less noise in the picture. And I've got a manual white balance set that I've set to all the same ones. So this one I care most about getting these numbers right, and then the other ones I try to just make sure that it looks as bright as this. So here is the wide camera I threw in there. Oh, the lens on the main camera is the 12 to 35. Oh, now I forgot the number. Yeah, 12 to 35. That sounds right. Not a cheap lens, but I like it a lot. This one I just threw in there a second ago. This one actually has the 12 to 42 power zoom, which means I can actually zoom here. But you may notice that I click once and it goes like way in. Does not have very granular controls. It's not an expensive lens, and you can tell. But it's kind of cool. You can still remote control it. Yeah. Any updates on making your whole rack white? I probably am not going to do that anymore. I'm not sure I should paint the Constellation. It's very expensive. I probably shouldn't open it up. Although now that it is in the shot again, maybe I should. I don't know. I almost got the whole rack powder coated before I assembled it, and then I was just like, it's just too complicated. And I feel like it only will work if the entire rack is also white. Oh, here's a good question from Technicom Media. Do you have two of everything, or do you break down your lab when you just go to a customer's site to live stream an event? I haven't done on-site live streaming with my own gear since getting the gear. So what I used to do was I did not have a permanent setup at home at all. So all of my gear was always on the go. And when I started doing these live streams during lockdowns, when I couldn't go anywhere, obviously there were no events to stream. So I started building this as more of a permanent setup. And I started in this room, but it was before the walls were done and all that. So it was, I was using a paper backdrop for a while, but I was going back and forth between home and here, or doing other things by like taking the ATEM Mini, but then leaving other stuff set up. And I didn't really like doing that, which is one of the reasons I started getting more of all the different things. And but yeah, at this point, like if I do go do an event, I am definitely not going to disassemble all this stuff. I would probably go and take either an ATEM Mini or a YoloBox, depending on the type of event and the budget. Case in point, when I met Photo Joseph to go film ResolveCon, he did take his gear from his studio, and he did actually take out a whole bunch of stuff out of his rack. We actually were borrowing a Constellation 2 ME, so we weren't using his ATEM, but everything else, like the HyperDecks and all this other stuff, came out of his studio, all of his cameras, and it was a real hassle. So I didn't pack it up, obviously, because it was his studio, but I did go back to his studio afterwards and help him assemble it again. It was a lot. It was a lot. And I definitely do not want to be in that position myself. So Christopher says permanent setup. Yeah, permanent setup that changes all the time, but hey, at least it all stays here. But no, I have an ATEM Mini Extreme still. which I sometimes bring out here for temporary stuff or to test things with or to do videos about. That would be the one I would take out to a gig if it needed more than 4 cameras. Otherwise, again, ATEM Mini or YoloBox, and depends on the budget, totally. Jesse says, are you still using your custom setup for the question overlay? Has it changed? It has almost not changed at all. And yeah, it's still the custom thing I've got, which you saw a sneak peek of it a second ago when I had my computer on the screen. Bullhorn says, I just got a YoloBox Mini, got a recommendation for the power brick to charge it. I thought it came with one, but the YoloBox Mini, if I remember correctly, does support power delivery. So almost any USB-C charger will work. Any of the Anker ones I did a little video about, those would be good because they're nice and small, and those do work with it. I have used that. The YoloBox Pro does not support the higher voltages. So that one, it's a little bit annoying. You have to get a charger that is 5 volts. And that usually means a old school USB charger with a to C cable. Scott says, have you played with the Unify implementation of WireGuard in their latest network app update? I have not. I will check it out. I actually hadn't seen that yet. I haven't updated mine in a couple of weeks. That's interesting. I'll take a look, because right now what I'm doing is running a Raspberry Pi on each end at home and here, and those are running WireGuard. And then I have static routes set up on each of the Unify routers to each other's Raspberry Pi. Is there a way to add NDI to OBS? I believe so, and I can't remember the trick. I have no reason to do it, so I've never bothered to try. What rack screw cushion washers are you using? From Robert. Whatever came with the screws, I don't know. I haven't bought those separately. When I bought the little kits of screws, they just came with the little washers in them. We talked about this a little bit. David says, do you think you'll run out of inputs and outputs now that you have the 4ME? I hope not. I'm trying to keep everything in the 4ME. The big question is going to be whether I need either ISO audio or not ISO audio, ability to route audio, separate audio to any of the outputs, because the audio out of all the SDI is the program audio. Or if I run out, and then that's why I'm keeping this video hub in here just in case. But it's also the loudest thing. The Constellation is quieter than the video hub, even with my quiet fans I replaced in the video hub. There is an NDI plugin for OBS. Okay, cool. That's how you do it. Not fully compatible with the M1 on the newest OBS version. Oh yeah, I haven't actually updated to the newest OBS version because I heard it also doesn't work with the Deck Link Ultra Studio. There's an OBS plugin for NDI, allows you to send program feed, and there's a filter so you can send a specific source or group. Very cool. Okay. Glad everybody else knows that. I only use OBS just to capture a web page and get it out the key fill and the Deck Link. Only the older version is supported. Okay. Scrolling back through before we wrap this up, talk about the power brick. Mauricio says, what's your recommendation to get multi-view and program on an ATEM Mini? I'm actually using HDMI out to multi-view and USB-C as webcam to an Android box to get program HDMI out from there. Yeah, fair enough. That is one of the main limits of the ATEM Minis, is there's only one HDMI out. And that was one of the best things about the Extreme when they launched it, is it has 2. Although now the ATEM SDI has 2 SDIs on the small version too, which is pretty cool. And if you are talking about just the ATEM Mini with HDMI, then yeah, USB-C out to something to get program out is a decent way to do it. The other one that works for that is this little thing, which I did a video about, so I'll link that in a second. but this is the OBSBOT USB-C to HDMI basically. So it's it has a USB-C port for a webcam, or a USB-A port for a webcam, and then HDMI out. And it is basically a little, I don't actually know if it's running Android, but it's basically a little box that is, it just boots up and talks to the camera and outputs it. So that is a decent way to do it. It is a little bit of a hack, but it does work. Let me grab my link to that. It was a relatively recent video. There it is. Oops. Lost the link. Where did it go? There it is. Sergio says, I just received the YoloBox Pro PK1 stand in Brazil. I strongly recommend for you guys. Awesome. Thank you. I'm so glad. Yeah. Definitely tell your friends. Tell your friends in Brazil. We have not sold enough to Brazil. Do you have any experience with the Firewalla gear? Notice they have a site-to-site VPN feature between their gold and purple. I have never heard of that before. Nope, never heard of it. I'll check it out. Rusty says, what's the holiday stream schedule? Off for the holidays? I am not off for the holidays. If anything, I will be doing more streams. We will see. I don't have any plans other than sticking to the every Sunday. So, Emerald Audiovisual says the other way would be to use a TBS 2603AU. Oh yeah, that was the other one I did a video about. It's a little bit more work to get that one running because you have to go into the web interface to configure it. But the OBSBOT just, that's all it does. So it just goes when you turn it on. Sergio says, in your opinion, what is the best solution for playback videos on the ATEM Mini? I would say either the HyperDeck Shuttle, which is the new one they launched, which is the little not rack version of a HyperDeck. Where is it? That is, where did they go? There it is, this one. This little thing, HDMI out into the ATEM Mini. The reason I say this is a good option is because it's the same shape as the ATEM Mini Extreme, I believe. So if you have it next to the Extreme, it'll match. The jog wheel is very nice. It can also be controlled from the ATEM Mini. So if you go into the ATEM and go into the media player section, you can actually add a HyperDeck control into it so that if you bring it on air, it'll like auto start playing, which is pretty cool. That thing is nice. The other way to do it, which is also very nice, is using an app on iPad. And then you either go HDMI out from the iPad or AirPlay to an Apple TV, which is also a pretty cool solution. This app is called Live App. I believe it's linked in the description already. And it looks like this, or you make your little playlist. So it's a lot easier to manage here because you can just import videos from your camera roll. And then you can actually like reorder them here, which is nice. And then you can play from the screen here. You can also have this be controlled from, or be controlled from the ATEM. So when you cut to the input that this is connected to, this will start auto playing the playlist. It's very nice. It works great. And it gives you a little preview of what's happening on the screen too. I don't have it connected right now, but oh, speaking of, I need to actually mention a great way to connect this, which is another hub from Uni. This one they sent over along with the one I talked about a couple weeks ago. This one is a 6-in-1, slightly different shape. But the reason I thought this one was interesting is because, one, it's USB-C, so it fits into the iPad. But it also has Ethernet, and it's also nice and skinny. So this is super cool because the Ethernet gives you a way to plug it into the network, which means your iPad has a network connection for more reliable control with over like Live App, for example. So it's a really good option for this. And it has very clearly labeled, unlike the other one, which was not labeled, very clearly labeled power delivery pass-through, as well as another USB-C. So works with a computer or an iPad, but it'll charge your iPad, let you connect other things over USB, and give you Ethernet, and of course other USB-Cs here, or USB-As, plus HDMI. So you can run that to your ATEM, connect it over the network so you get a stable network connection and that you're not relying on Wi-Fi, and power it. So the other one that I showed the other week was this one, which is also got SD card reader, which is nice, but and it does have Ethernet and HDMI, and that is a power pass-through, but it's not labeled, which is kind of annoying. And this one's a lot bigger. So this, I think, would pair very well with this app for playing back videos. On the iPad, yeah. Okay, I think we're just at about time. Got a question from Lily. The chat box edge won't disappear. Oh, that is true until you click a message. I really should probably fix that. What happens, what it does is the extension gives you a test message on the screen, and it has an outline so that you can see if your window's in the right shape. But then there's no way to like get rid of it. So as soon as you click on an actual message, it'll not have the border. Oh, Adam is here. Adam, who created MixEffect. Thanks for testing out the new video follows audio with this disabled inputs feature. Glad to see it is working well. It is. It has been working very well. I'm very glad. But we have to wrap this up because Lily is about to go live in 60 seconds over on her channel to talk about the crypto free fall. So I will see you over there. I'm going to put that on the big speakers here and organize some boxes in the storage room. Very exciting stuff. So yeah, thank you for all of the super chats. Thanks for showing up every week and asking questions and bringing your expertise and answering the questions I don't have the answer to. Also nice. See you back here next week. Same time, same place if everything goes well. And yeah, we'll be back every Sunday this month. I have no plans to go on a holiday break or anything, unless it snows. And then if I can't get here, we'll see what I do. Maybe do a snow stream with the YoloBox. It'll be fun. All right, see you over on Lily's channel in just a second. And thanks for joining.